My name is Kayla E. I'm the author of Precious Rubbish, a graphic memoir about my really bad childhood told in the form of mid-century children's comics, and you are listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
First time, every time, baby.
It's amazing. It's amazing how you do it. It's crazy. It's also 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 1015, and I am Vince B.
You are Vince B. I'm damn glad to hear from you today. I am one of your other co-hosts, David A. Price.
Nice. And I'm the Hunchback of Notre Dame. No, you're not. You're Jason Wood, everybody. Now, Jason will be here, but in spirit. And he's supposed to send Dap an audio file. So he will be talking about comics, but he's not here in the vicinity with us.
Yeah, when he's
probably working on some list that nobody.
Well, of course he is. It is the end of the year.
It stands, but it stands to reason. He loves the data.
Oh my God, he really does.
He loves the data.
And thank God for him for doing so, because I mean I don't, but
yeah.
Just I mean, similar to what to what you listeners sat through a handful of weeks ago, a couple months ago, where Jason and I were the episode was compiled from our separate files. Jason's going to send something in, so you get Vince and I for now. Me and Vince will chat with you for a bit, and then we'll splice Jason in once he sends me the file, and you'll get your full episode that way. But for now, we're still gonna have some fun. We've got some things to talk about. As Vince said, it's episode 1015, and I'll let you take over from here.
Wow, all formal and shit.
All formal.
Things have changed. This episode is brought to you by cheapgraphicnovels.com. Everything you need to know is in the name. cheapgraphicnovels.com. Omnibus editions, OGNs, trade paperbacks, collected editions, art books, manga. Yeah, everything with a spine is available at cheapgraphicnovels.com for a fraction of the retail price. It's amazing. Max looks at the price and he says, ha 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 ha. He turns into the shadow for a couple of seconds. But it's true. You will not pay retail at cheapgraphicnovels.com. Excellent. It over, above, and beyond shipping. And they have specials.
Oh, we have weekly specials every week. You get your new release list, and because it's the last week of the year, we don't have a slew. We don't have a plethora of books to discuss. It's been a rough couple of past few days for me. So the slackers haven't even seen the list. Not that there's much of a list. I might as well just post the link to this week's new releases, because it'll basically be the same thing. But a couple things I do want to highlight from Mad Cape Studios. Far Down Below trade paperback for $13.49. It all begins in 1865. Somewhere beneath Pennsylvania, in darkness, a distant sound is heard. A whirring. Suddenly, the wall explodes and a gigantic drill bit bursts through, revealing a train-like cab and locomotive wheels encased by sharp metal treads. This metal beast is known simply as the Monolith. Explorers emerge from the cab, look at the massive cavern they are standing in, and declare that they have found it, the hollow earth. Oh, Neil Adams. But from the darkness, something slithers up the cab, kills the lights, and the explorers are never seen alive again. A century later, 1983, it's a rainy day in eastern Pennsylvania. Two friends, Mike and Brian, are bored at Brian's house. While down in the basement, they uncover a key to Brian's grandfather's house, abandoned since the mid-60s and presumed haunted after his grandfather mysteriously disappeared. Also, Queen Kodiak trade paperback again from Manscaped Studios, $11.24. Following in the massive footsteps of legends like Godzilla and King Kong comes Queen Kodiak, a colossal, supercharged Kodiak grizzly bear, one who survived from the Ice Age and who's been irreversibly enhanced by a mysterious geothermal energy pulsing in the unknown depths of the Alaskan ice cave. And although Queen Kodiak has been asleep for thousands of years, melting ice and subsequent tectonic activity has disturbed her hibernation, and in her debut graphic novel, she wakes up to find her only cub missing. But as much as we want to meet her and watch her wreck shop on the Pacific Northwest, sorry, Seattle, our story actually centers on Joey Fox, an embattled 17-year-old girl and natural empath who befriends Queen Kodiak's cub after a tectonic shift in her own life, the recent passing of her mother. As a result, Joey's been sent to Alaska's Kodiak Island to live with the man who left them 10 years ago, her state trooper father. In many ways, it's a story about how families survive overwhelming odds. And finally, from Marvel, written by Chris Claremont, Wolverine and Kitty Pryde trade paperback, $12.59. Industry titan Chris Claremont revisits one of his most famous classic stories starring Wolverine and Kitty Pryde of the X-Men. When Kitty Pryde nearly lost her soul to Ogun during her journey to Japan, Logan was there to keep the youngest X-Man on the path to good. But as a mysterious force threatens their lives while staying with Mariko Yashida, it's going to take all their combined mutant, ninja, and fighting skills to protect those they love. Wolverine and Shadowcat are always up for the fight, but they can't be prepared for the ghostly Snow Samurai and the startling changes it presages. As a mysterious artifact turns up, what deeper connection between Logan, Mariko, and Kitty will shape their shared destiny? Chris Claremont at last tells the full story of the duo's journey in Japan before returning to the X-Men and the heartbreak, trials, and tribulations that made the characters who they are today. Collects Wolverine and Kitty Pryde, the 2025 series, numbers 1 through 5.
Well, things. Everything happens in Pennsylvania.
It really does.
Do I have to tell you? Two, those tectonic plates can be a bitch.
Yeah.
They can be nasty. And three, shop cheapgraphicnovels.com.
Cosine.
Yeah. It seems like I get a package at least once a week.
Goddamn.
Which is good and bad, because it's good because I get more books, but it's bad because I get more paper. Max uses, a lot of paper. The books come pristine because Max uses a whole roll of this stuff per box. It's amazing. You do not have to worry about dinged corners or scraped edges, unless you buy a nick and dent, and even then, it's tough to find where the problem is. It's amazing. So cheapgraphicnovels.com. I am drinking.
Ooh, do tell.
Yeah, because tomorrow is New Year's Eve, and everybody and their brother and sister are going to be drinking. It's kind of, sort of like, I'm switching up a bit. Everybody expects me to say Double Trouble, Cabernet Sauvignon from, but I am not. I'm actually drinking beer this time, an IPA. Yeah, from Treehouse Brewery. It is the extremely dark IPA called Raven. Now, I assume you've seen the Metallica Black Album cover.
Yes.
The can is kind of, sort of like the Black Album cover. It's black on black, so it's very difficult to read. Yeah, keep cold, enjoy fresh, Raven, a bunch of text that I can't read. Again, 7% alcohol by volume, 16 ounces per can. I'm drinking 2 of them. So by the end of the episode, I should be, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I should be reading Jason's list by the
Yes.
end of the
That'll
episode.
sober you up.
Yeah. It's like a hot cup of coffee.
We need Jason to recite his list if we ever take a road trip again. That'll keep us going.
Oh yeah, that'll keep us up. Or it may do the opposite. It may put
You're
us
right.
to sleep.
Yeah, no, that is true. I have been imbibing since about 20 after 5. So I'm not drinking anything right now. Otherwise, I will not. I mean, you may have heard it during the sponsor spot, but I have not. I want to make sure I'm coherent and can stop this episode when we're done. But I mean, just to catch you up, I had some Cab Franc. I had I had a glass of Pinot Noir, and I've had a couple of glasses of Buffalo Trace. And a
You're
shot.
all over the place.
I am. I was all over the place because I had dinner with some friends, and I haven't seen these guys in a few weeks. Well, one of them in a few weeks, one of them in well over a month. But yeah, and so we grabbed some bites and some drinks over at Whiskey River naturally. So I also needed something to sop up all the food. Or to help sop it up, I had some food.
That's what you say.
But so I had and I had for Mike, because I've never had this before. I had some Michter's single barrel rye whiskey. Of all the Michter's I've had, I've never had that. So I had a shot of that. It's extremely sharp. It's good. But yeah, I'm not super keen on rye the way I am on bourbon, but it was still tasty. So anyway, I think I've had enough to drink for the next couple of days, so I'm good. So now I'm just going to enjoy some water for the rest of this episode while we talk about some comics. So obviously we were thinking of, prior to the mix up with tonight's schedule or tonight's agenda, we were going to kind of talk about Jason's meta list, which, if you're on the Slack, has recently been updated with over 600 items on the list, as he's been scouring far and wide to see other sources, to see what other sources are pulling their best ofs. So we're not going to talk about the meta list tonight, as much as I know that hurts Vince as not being able to talk about lists and data.
I'm crushed.
Yeah, try to hide it. So we're just going to talk about some book. We're just going to talk about some of the things we've been reading. Like we said, you'll hear from Jason a little bit, God willing, and or whoever you pray to, and we'll just take it from there. So yeah, what have you been reading?
He does love. I can't get him out of my head. I guess that's a good thing. He does love the numbers.
He does.
And it stands to reason that he would love the lists. So you gotta indulge the guy, right?
For sure.
If it gets him through the day, more power to him. But it's not as hard as he's making it out to be. The difficulty is almost zero. In fact, were we to record the Oscars right now, I would be done.
You would be done?
Yeah.
I can't say the same.
Now I would change very little, but I'm sure I would change some. But for the most part, it's resoundingly clear to me what got me through the year and what didn't. Right?
Your 5 creators are locked in?
Uh, yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
good.
But the I can shuffle the deck chairs if I have to. It's not going to be Chris Claremont.
Drat!
You know, but the writings on the wall, as far as I'm concerned, a couple surprised even me. I don't understand why that they're calling me. I told them that we were recording tonight, and they still call me. But yeah, to get back to it, it's no surprise to me that he loves the numbers. That being said, I feel like I'm in YouTube. The let's scratch off some more on my list,
Yes.
and a couple that I didn't get to put on my list that belong there. This is a everybody loves an underdog, right?
True.
Don't we? Yeah. And such is the trend that I've been doing that I have far too many book, too many. I have an entire room of paper and a couple of folding tables full of books that need new homes. So I've been conducting a process where I will reread books that didn't make muster the first time, and it could be I wasn't in the right headspace at the time of reading it. There could be a number of factors, including the fact that maybe the book stinks. Maybe the book is just not good. So I've been revisiting some stuff, and one of the books that I revisited was written by David Birke and Nicholas McCarthy, and drawn by Benjamin Marra. Is Disciples. Now I have the Fantagraphics edition, which was hardcover and $24.99, and you get a book plate signed by Birke, McCarthy, and Mora. Pretty cool. Yeah, worth paying the because Fantagraphics is not going to give you a break unless there's some kind of special going on, whether it be their infrequent sales. They know what they have and they price it accordingly. And I can't get upset at that because they are better than most of the publishing houses. It's just the truth, but as I see it, and your truth may be different. But so I gave the Disciples a reread. Like I said, hardcover. It has spot varnish, although really the text of the creative team and the name of the book is spot varnish, and the reflection in her the eyes of the facial features are spot varnished.
Okay.
I don't know why someone would spot varnish something so small, but yeah, Mara, I guess
weird.
it's strange. It's a
cover's-
strange.
yeah.
It's a strange illustration, but it's an also a stranger book.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you're not going to read to feel better about yourself or the world in which you live. It's not a feel good book. In fact, the villains, if you can even call them that, the a villain is such a loaded word when it comes to this book that it's almost wrong to call the main characters villains because they're really not villains. They seem, first of all, it takes place in the 70s. So if you want to capture my heart, set it in 70s. They seem to drag people down in their path. Now, people die in this book, and it's just like, oh well, they're dead. I've been trying to put myself in the place of the main characters, and it's a thinly veiled treatise on the Manson family. More to the point, Charlie, where a woman is taken in and left in a box for days and weeks on end, and I'm wondering if I should. It's came out in 2022. I should spoil it. It's spoilers. There is some kind of link to vampirism. Now, depending on how well you know your vampires, the sire is preeminent, right? When the sire dies, everybody turned, he or she, or they, turned, becomes normal, quote, normal. They don't have the taint of vampirism anymore. That's part of the book. It's a strange tale of finding oneself, even though you know it's wrong. I did give the book some kind of short shrift on my initial rating. I passed it off as one of Mara's weaker efforts.
I can see that.
Yeah, he keeps Mara has a penchant for distorting anatomy, whether it be hands or feet or arms or facial features. He likes to fuck around with the look of people, and he doesn't do that here. So it could be construed that it's not Benjamin Marra, but it is, because a lot of the things that lends one to believe that it's Benjamin Marra are not done here. But his graphic style is so strong, and his layout is so well done that you know that it's Benjamin Marra.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's really not a book to read during the week. It's one of those weekend. Oh, it's raining outside or it's snowing. I'm gonna curl up and drink myself to oblivion while reading this text. and it's odd because it like I said, it's not a happy endeavor at all. But should it be read? That's the question. Should you read it? And I would say yes, you should. You should read it because it's very good. I don't know what I was thinking the first time I I uh, I read it, and it's not nearly as bad as I made it out to be. Jason didn't like it either, which bullshit me. If Jason doesn't like it, then there must be something about it that's off. Maybe Jason was having a bad week as well. Who knows? Maybe he didn't like it because it doesn't. It is about slackers. I will grant that. It's yeah, and some of them are children. One of them, the main character, goes away and doesn't return for a long time. Now, whether or not that speaks to Jason is words that I'm not going to about to put in his mouth, but I thought to say it was wonderful is not appropriate. I thought it was riveting. I thought there were things that I missed the first time around that caught on. That second time I read it, so this is one I'm keeping. I don't want to. I think that's the ultimate compliment, right? Whether or not you, because we don't have shelf space to spare,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Something's got to be
And
special if you want to keep it. Yeah.
yeah, Tearing the Pirates, I'll devote an entire shelf for that. But there's some books that they don't belong. They don't belong on the shelf. This belongs in my collection. It's like I can't stress it enough. It's not a feel good book, but you should read it. Dap, maybe not so
I'm
much.
looking at the preview pages, and that's not giving too much away, really, especially on the Fantagraphics site. But I and you're right about it. I mean, I can see Marra is there, but like right away, I almost got hit with a Lapum, and to a lesser degree, not the style, but the look almost gave me a bit of a Charles Burns kind of vibe. But
Yeah, more Labum than Burns.
yes, yes,
But
yes, 100
you're
percent.
right. You're right. He almost sacrifices the thing that makes him unique. Almost. You can't take away composition.
Right.
Good composition is just there. You can't take away drawing ability. That's a given. So it is Benjamin Marr, but it's Benjamin Marr on his best behavior.
And according to Fanta's site, this was on sale back in 2022.
Wow. Well, maybe I did get a deal. Well, I don't remember. I don't remember what I had for dinner yesterday. It just, the old people of which I'm becoming like to say, I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. It's true. It's almost true. I really don't remember. And I haven't been drinking, but I am striving to speak slowly so you can all understand me. I'm drinking now, but yeah, just do me yourself a favor, block out some time when you're alone and a little weepy and you're feeling kind of down, and read this book. You can follow it up with something else, you know.
Got some Fanta bucks burning a hole in my pocket, so maybe.
I wouldn't
Okay.
if I were you. Yeah.
I'll wait to find it at a. I'll find it at a con then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
If
All
you
right.
can get it for half or less, then it's $24. If
Yeah.
you can get it for half or less, buy it. But don't spend full price on it. It's really not a book for you. Because you don't have a penchant for vampires. You're not a child. Well, you are, but you're not so much endeared with the 70s like I am. Like, I live them. You were just a little tiny
Yeah. I
person.
mean, only the first 8 years of my life was in the 70s. Yeah.
Right. So, I don't know. If you see it at a con, pick it up. Right?
Okay. All right. No, that's fair. I can.
Don't
I,
go
I,
out
I
your
can
way.
respect that. Okay.
There are much better things for you
Yes.
at the Fantagraphic site.
And he is, and
There
when
you
he
go.
says you, and he is listeners referring to me, not to the general,
No,
not to the audience.
right.
Everybody else
Right.
should read this.
No, for the most part, those that want to punch themselves in the face should read it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Any Benjamin Marra completist should check it out. Obviously,
And if you're not a Marra completist, what the hell are you doing listening to me?
that you're no less than
Because
that.
I am.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's another reason why I'm keeping it for the very sake of keeping the Marra collection complete. You know, have everything he's ever done, including some not comics work. I just love his stuff, but I love the I'm fucking with you stuff more than the I have to play it straight because there's a lot of eyes on me right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when I think of Mara, I do think of things like Night Business and Gangster Rap Posse. I mean, so
Yeah.
I like his
Right.
more avant garde and off the wall batshit crazy shit. That's how I got to know him and his work.
Right.
So I mean, I look for that more. Anything beyond that would I'd have to consider the context. But are you familiar with co-authors and filmmakers
Oh,
Birke and
yeah.
McCarthy? Okay.
Yeah. But for the most part, he doesn't care. That's what I love the most about Benjamin. He does not care. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, you think the drawing is good or bad, or the composition or the color,
That's perfect.
which doesn't apply. But he doesn't give a hoot. And that is what makes him special to me, where he can risk it all by drawing off kilter just because he feels like it. Whereas someone, and I'm going back years and years and years and years, someone didn't see it initially. And I said, wait a minute, this person can draw. And they said, no, you're wrong. And whatever.
We all grow.
Yeah, we all do. I miss him. We all do.
Jesus, it's almost 20 years.
It's almost. Yeah. It's been a long time. A long time.
Long road. Oh man. I'll bring us back to something a little bit more familiar because I read this and it just reminded me why this is one of my favorite books from the big two at the moment, and the one that I continue to compare all the other big two books to. It is the first ever absolute team up. Absolute Wonder Woman number 15 has an appearance with Absolute Batman. And it's a fun, in air quotes, a fun little I'm not going to call it a one shot because this, according to the credits page, the Mark of Hecate is a duet with Absolute Batman number 16. So the next issue of Batman, I believe Wonder Woman will appear there to repay the favor. But the issue where there is the start of the issue and the end of the issue takes place in Gateway City, the home of Veronica Cale, who we've seen in previous issues of Absolute Wonder Woman. She's on the phone with someone named Grimm, with two M's, and she's Cale is discussing, I guess, some of the marketing and the merchandise that the specifically Wonder Woman has seemed to inspire, and that's something that if for those of us who have read Absolute Evil, Cale and her cohorts are trying to squash. They don't want to give the heroes any oxygen. They don't want to risk the heroes inspiring others because the big bads all have plans and they don't want the heroes to get in the way of that. But this issue is fun because Wonder Woman, Diana, is trying to get Batman's attention. So she visits Gotham City. She puts this big green, bright bat symbol in the sky, which Batman responds to, and realizes that he lands on the rooftop near where the symbol is, and he's wondering if it's made of magic. And then Diana appears and says yes, but since I don't want to intrude. This is your city. I haven't been invited. I wanted to reach out to you, but obviously you're not easy to get in touch with, which I'm sure is by design. So she introduces herself. I'm Diana. He says, I'm Batman, and he asks her to define magic, which she says it's advanced chemistry with unconventional intentions and unusual resources. So they have a little bit of a back and forth, a little bit of a chit chat as far as what they do, why they do, and she is upfront and says that she's here for assistance. She needs his aid, and she's there have been some recent murders in Gotham, which obviously isn't unusual for Gotham, but they're connected by the symbol on Diana's arm, and the symbol that Diana has on her shoulder. That symbol was present at the murders. So they're going to go and investigate. But she lets him know that she's no god. She asks him if he is, and he says, "Of course not." And she says, "Oh, excellent," which of course causes him to pause for a second, because apparently, I guess, Cersei was convinced that Batman was a bat god, but they made a bet about it. So, but she, so at least Diana has that. So she also gives Batman it's a gift. Hospitality is a big deal in Greek culture, but it's the enchanted talisman of Hecate, and she. So he says it's if you touch this symbol with your bare skin and demand an audience with Diana of the Wild Isle, if I am on this plane of existence, I will come to your aid, she says. And I naturally thought that this was something that would come into play much later, not a handful of pages later, later on down the line. And so as we're reading and we come across another story and this comes across, oh snap, this was from way back when. Anyway, they're going to they do some investigating. It's great seeing them work together. They end up in a swamp. They put their minds together. They're doing their investigating. they decide to be a little bit proactive, and they head towards a church, and there's a ritual going on, and apparently those murders, there were organs removed from the bodies, and so now these organs are used during this ritual. So they see a bunch of cloaked people sitting around a golem of sorts, with the organs placed on top, and they're sitting there and they're chanting. Diana and Batman break in, but of course there's a barrier. There's obviously where the monks are. They've outlined a circle around them, so this way nobody can barge through and interrupt the ceremony. Unfortunately, there is something causes them to trip and break the barrier. The circle is now broken, and it turns out that they're not trying to build a construct. They are trying to control one. And we cut back to Veronica Cale because rumor or legend or myth has it that this Wonder Woman is this miraculous child, this last Amazon. Some myths claim she was made of clay, and that's what they're counting on. So now, with her being made of clay, she is golem-like. She's being controlled, and the first thing that happens is she loses her right arm, which we have seen earlier on, and I believe in the first arc, where she showed that she sacrificed her arm in a situation, and now it's magic that provides her with the arm she uses. So Batman is trying to escape. Diana, of course, now under control of other forces, is kicking Batman's ass. And he uses the axe on his chest to stop her. Nothing's working. He finally realizes, before he's pretty much done for, he pulls out the talisman and demands an audience with Diana of the Wild Isle. And right before she's ready to hack down on him with the axe, she returns to her senses. She's back to herself, and so she the place is pretty much, the church is, for lack of a better term, is booby trapped. There's not going to be any survivors. Nothing's going to be able to be proven from the night's events. With Bruce and Diana escaping, Cale's plans were, of course, thwarted, which means she's not happy. They continue to chat a little bit, Diana and Batman. She does say that she provides him with a jump drive, basically a thumb drive, because somebody she had met recently, and I'll let those of you who read Absolute Wonder Woman figure that out. There was she had rescued somebody, and they gave her the drive, which has quite a bit of information about all of us, she says. So Batman says, "Oh, so you mean the Superman?" She says, "I do, and a few more besides." So and now she's finally, and it's snowing in Gotham, which she's never seen in person. She does ask. She asks if she says to Batman, I think we're going to be great friends, Batman. I think one day you will even tell me your name. And he says, I suspect you already know it. She goes, "I do, but it's not mine to take. It's yours to give." And he says, "Well, you can go ahead and say it." So she knows his name is Bruce. and then she asks him if Bruce, do you think, don't you think we should make friends with the Superman as well? I think we're going to need lots of friends if we're going to save this world. But please, may they bless and protect you, Bruce, and those you love, and she spirits away, and Bruce wishes her happy holidays, and that's the end of the issue. This was just one of those. It was just a really fun little. I mean, yes, it was the first ever absolute team up as far as the heroes go, but it was still a really fun little. I don't want to call it a one shot. Obviously, it's meant to lead into other things, but I mean, it's Hayden's drawing of Batman. It's I find I know beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and there are but I find Hayden's version of Diana extremely attractive. He's a reason why. Obviously, I mean, Kelly's a fantastic writer. I'm digging the story, but he's obviously a massive reason why this book is at the top of my stack. But this was just an all around fun issue. It was great seeing these two characters team up. Bruce was kind of out of his element a little bit because obviously the stuff he's used to is quite different than the magic that she's involved with, and she tends to adapt to things a lot easier than I think he does. Although he did, I mean, I don't know how well he would have handled this without her, especially without her talisman. But yeah, I think this is a fun issue. I'm looking forward to seeing her show up in Absolute Batman to keep it continuing. And I mean, now my only worry, if I want to call it that, is any future absolute line-wide crossovers with other books that I'm not currently
you know
reading.
It's going to happen.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And listen, I mean, I have heard, even though I wasn't keen on the first few issues of Absolute Superman, I have heard good things as the series continued. So that is something I think I'd like to return to. I've enjoyed Flash. I've enjoyed Martian Manhunter. I haven't returned to Green Lantern. I know I know we've got Zatanna showing up in the next issue of Absolute Wonder Woman, so I'm curious to see their take on that character. But yeah, it's just this was just this. I mean, it was inevitable, but it wasn't. It didn't feel like. It didn't feel like a cash grab. It didn't feel like, oh, we got to put Batman in everything. It just, this was, I mean, it's been over a year, and we're finally getting the characters recognizing other characters in this universe, and for them holding off this long, I'll give them credit for that. But it made sense, and I for Diana to show up in Gotham and the way it all played out, it was a smart story. I'm not unhappy with it. I'm looking forward to seeing how Dragata and Snyder take on Diana when she shows up in Absolute Batman. But this was fun. I was looking forward to it when it was announced, and I got to say, I really wasn't disappointed.
Ay, caramba!
We don't make use of the soundboard. No,
We do not.
we don't. Either Kelly is doing her research, which I know she is, or she's just a damn good writer. Hecate is their mother of magic.
Mm-hmm.
So, yay, she got it right. Whether it's through work or she's also something other than she claims to be, it works. It works for me. Two, Wonder Woman would absolutely destroy Batman.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
No doubt about it.
She says she's not a god. Bullshit. Yes, she is. Yeah. Uh, but she is made clay, and I'm glad you called it a golem and not a golem because I didn't have to wonder if we were supposed to read the Fellowship of the Ring. You know,
Also, I'm Jewish, and I was taught in
it's
Hebrew school
golem.
about golem. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
that was that, and so that's how I always pronounced it, pretty much until the movie, and they, although it was spelled differently, obviously in the books, but yeah, I mean, when you hear someone else say when you hear
Listen.
Gandalf or Bilbo say Gollum, then oh well, shit, it's not Golem then. But no, they're two different things. Golem is a deformed
A
hobbit,
construct.
right?
Yeah.
A Gollum,
Well,
Gollum is a construct. Golem is some greedy little old hobbit. But yeah, it's just it's Golem.
it is. But Jason loves to pronounce it. Gollum.
We do have
He-
we each of us tend to have those things that
Yeah.
we can't let go of.
He's not perfect. I can't speak language. I can barely handle English, but yeah, it's to keep it away from Superman long enough. Long enough is the goal
Yes,
because
I agree.
we again to reiterate, we only have so much shelf space, and they get I call me hard around the edges. They only get one issue to rope me in, and Aaron did not do it with the first Superman. So I kind of sort of leafed through the second issue, and he didn't get me with the second issue. You're done. I gave you one more than I usually give. The comp again. Maybe I'm hard, maybe I'm not, but you get one shot to win me over, and Aaron didn't do it.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
There is, and we're not hurting for things to read. I mean, I would like, yes,
That's the problem.
It's
We
nice to
have
give them a
up.
shot, but yeah,
Right.
you can't keep giving them shot. Otherwise, you're just reading it anyway. But yeah, no, I hear you. I absolutely hear you. Which is why I wanted to wait until after the first arc to see how things shake out. I know that I'm not. There are some things where I'm fine with certain shakeups. And switching things around. I do not know. And granted, since I haven't read the story, I'm not sure of the context. I'm not sure how it all plays out. I do not know, sight unseen, how I feel about a character named Ra's al Ghul mingled in with Superman. But that's me being an old reader from the 70s and 80s that just knows Ra's al Ghul is connected to Batman. It's weird for me to see, even in the Absolute universe, it's weird for me to see the connection between Ra's and Superman.
Right. I tell you, Flash and Martian Manhunter are great. They're so good.
Yeah.
The rest of them, I read the first issue.
Yeah,
So
I'm not in a rush to go back to Green Lantern. I'd like to,
you,
but it's that one
Yeah.
that one was tough to take.
well, I expected Hal, and that is neither here nor there. I expected Hal or a derivative of Hal, and I got a female. What? It's okay. It's all right, but the book is clearly not for me. You know, not to say that she's not a great lantern, but it's why would I devote my time and attention to this book when we have mountains, literal mountains of paper
Yeah.
left and read?
You're right.
We it's just silly.
I'm not. I'm not. Obviously, I read for enjoyment. because if I like it, I want to talk about it. That will come across when I'm discussing with you guys. So I try to stick to things that I know I'm going to like, or I'll try something that I think might have something I'm going to be into, and then I can bring. But yeah, you're right. I'm not. I don't want to. I am now. As I said this at dinner, I'm at a point now where I'm closer to the end than I was before. So I'm trying to find things that are going to bring me joy, that I want to read, that are going to that are going to fulfill me in some way. I don't want to risk wasting time reading things that are just going to leave me flat, or just not that aren't discussion worthy. If I'm reading something that there's nothing to talk about, why'd I just read that?
Unless it was dictated by a friend,
Sure,
Jason,
yes.
or myself,
Yes.
then you would read it. But because it was a quote assignment.
Yes.
Otherwise, why bother?
Yeah.
You know, within the first 10 pages, you know whether it's for you or not. And it doesn't have to be for me, but there has to be something there that I can, on which to chew, you know? I did not want to read the following. But once I was about 10, 15 pages into it, I was like, hot damn, this is good. This is making me think. I don't usually, like, my daughter, Mia, did a paper on what happens to things when we throw them away. They just don't wink out of existence, right? Mm-hmm. They persist, whether it's a landfill or a compost heap, or and what happens to the groundwater once these things persist. And in the same vein, the book is called "Not a Place to Visit." It's published by Floating World, and it was written and drawn by T. Edward Beck. Now, the title of the book is Everything, because he's talking about nature. Nature is not a place to visit. That's the common what's the word? Parlance that we use when we describe nature. Like, oh my God, it was so beautiful. We're gonna go there again. Or that the place is there for your enjoyment only, and that's not what T. Edward Beck is talking about. Is nature is and he learned this through Hard Knocks. Nature is a system, a living and breathing system in which it exists for a reason, and it's not for you. It's because it either cleans air or cleans the water, or you know what I mean. And a lot of the book is has to do with the stuff that comes with getting fossil fuels, meaning fracking, and it's not good because it hurts the land, right? It does bad things to things you can't see, and the derivatives of fracking are far less than what we put into it. The thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of water wasted just to get oil, We shouldn't even be using oil. We should be using something that is easy to manufacture. We have lived on this planet for so long. We supposedly, Kubrick, supposedly went to the moon, where we should have in place an alternative to fossil fuels, which are, I believe, Jason will tell me I'm wrong, but I believe that the rotation of the Earth produces the fossils, the fuel, not the dead dinosaurs. That's just my belief. But again, it's not a feel good book. It is in a sense that maybe that it'll change, because we think of the people that sustain themselves and their children and their children's children on salmon, right? Catching, selling salmon sustains, where it did, millions of people per year, whereas fracking diverts water resources. And the place that you get your fish today might not be the place that you get your fish, or at all, for that matter, tomorrow, right? Where and what are you going to do when the only thing you know, and the only thing your father has known, and the only thing your grandfather has known is how to pull salmon out of the water? Like, that's what we do. We pull salmon out of the water, but the salmon's not there anymore. So what do? Do we pick up sticks and move somewhere else? How do you change your mode of working that quickly in order to feed you and yours? You don't. You just don't. And the bigwigs that are in charge of the oil don't seem to care. So what if a bunch of, quote, indigenous, quote, people, I said quote a lot this episode. So what if a bunch of indigenous people find themselves out of work? They'll either get different jobs, maybe the 7-Eleven, or the Quickie Mart, or they won't. Maybe they'll move away, and they'll die. Who cares? Why are you wasting your time thinking about it? Because they're human beings. And you've just disrupted, for the sake of profit, you've just disrupted their means of procuring money for their families. And it's not a complicated read, but it's a very sobering look at what happens to things that we take for granted. Right? It's $12, softcover, square bound, but it's worth far more than that. I could tell you as much, that we've lost sight of. This is me climbing up on my pulpit, my bully pulpit. We've lost sight of what's important, and it's not profit, and it's not the shareholders. It's people. So read Not a Place to Visit by T. Edward Back, by the great Folding World Comics. It is an exceptional book.
What is good, everybody? It is Woodrow, and as you probably already know, I was not able to be a part of our live recording this week, but since it is the last episode that we recorded this year, and you'll no doubt be listening to this after the new year, so Happy New Year, I wanted to include a little segment that our Boodap is going to insert at the appropriate spot for your listening pleasure. Basically, the reason, too, I wanted to jump in here is because in the coming weeks, we'll be doing our annual 11 O'Clockers, where we celebrate our favorite comics of the year and your favorite comics of the year. Hopefully, many of you have already voted in the balloting. If you haven't, please go do so. And I think, as many of you know, I also maintain each year a meta list where I go through as many sources as I can find that look reputable, and I compile a list of all of the books that all of these sources vote for as their favorites. And this year, I'm proud to say we really went crazy with it. I think I more than doubled the sources that we used, and that was part because in the past, I mainly took lists from articles on websites, which is great. I still do that. But with the way the world is changing between podcasts and YouTube videos, I realized that a lot of comic book reviews and commentary and where people get their ideas for what to read now come from other sources. So I really focused on those other channels as well this year. And I'm proud to say we have over 50 sources in the meta list, which again has been shared with you all. You can find it on the Facebook group or the Patreon Slack, or you can just ping us and ask if you don't have it in either of those spots. But regardless, we're pretty much, I'd say 95+% through the list at this point. There'll be a few more sources I'll likely add in the coming days, but I think for the most part, it's a relatively complete snapshot of the comics that got people excited this year. And I realized as I was looking at the list that there are a bunch of books that I read that also rank very highly in the meta list, but are frankly unlikely to make it into my top 10 when we do our O'Clockers. So I thought that for this week's segment, I would just run through a few of the books that fit those criteria, which is A, I've read them, and B, they rank very highly on the list, but C, I don't think they're going to make my top 10 of the year. So we're just going to go through them. So first up is Do Admit, The Mitford Sisters and Me, which was written and drawn by Mimi Pond and published by Drawn and Quarterly. This currently sits at the number 7 comic on the meta list with 18 different votes. And remember, with the meta list, if one of the sources counts a book, I count it as a vote. I don't try and force rank. So some sites, do like a top 10, and some just give a bunch of books they like. So I figured it's easier just to, if a book gets love, it gets mentioned as a vote. I don't try and sort of add any rank value to everything. So take that as you will. But either way, Do Admit was widely loved, mentioned, like I said, by almost 20 sources. And I'm starting with this because this is a book I already discussed a bit on a recent episode. So I figured we didn't have to go too deep on this one. Just to remind you, though, it's a hook where it's basically you're imagining a family where the daughters, the Mitford sisters, were the 20th century versions of the Kardashians, right? And they all had quite either famous, infamous, or notorious lives. Best-selling author, communist, one was an actual Nazi, and Mimi Pond, who's quite a successful television writer. I think she's almost 70 years old. If you look her up, she's written hit shows for decades. But she also is a graphic novelist, and I think this is her 3rd graphic novel of her life. And they're all they're memoirs. Each of them are memoirs of different facets of her life. And the reason this is a graphic memoir is because she has always had a fascination for the Mitford sisters that's carried her through much of her life. And so she interweaves her personal journey and an appreciation for the lives of the Mitfords with an actual historical account of the women themselves. So it's great. It's not just a dry history. It's a really wonderfully executed dual narrative. So you learn about Nancy, Pamela, Diana, Unity, Decca, and Deborah, the sisters who grew up very affluent, and then you see it sort of juxtaposed against Mimi's life growing up in San Diego. She makes parallels to the sisters' English estate and her own middle class life. So she just does a great job interweaving her personal life comparatives against the women that she's chronicling here. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but visually it stands out because she does this fascinating wash of like Prussian blue ink that carries throughout the book. And she also structures a lot of the pages hand drawn, but like infographics, right, where she has pops of interesting information or moments of notoriety, but done with a sort of a graphic quality to it. But again, hand drawn, so it's there's a free line to it that's really nice, and it's good stuff. It's 440 pages, so it's a big book, and again, I enjoyed it, but admittedly, I didn't come away as interested in the sisters before or after as I think some others might. But it was well executed, and I did want to give it some love, particularly given that it's in the top 10 of the meta list. Up next is Precious Rubbish, which was written and drawn by Kayla E. and published by Fantagraphics. This is Kayla's debut graphic novel. We have discussed this at several points over the year. I know, most notably, I think there was a week where I was away on vacation and Mario Muscar was sitting in on the show, and he talked about the book at length. So I also know that Dap and Mario met Kayla at one of the cons we attended this year, and I think Dap picked up the book from her directly. So this is a book that's definitely got EOC love written all over it. Kayla uses this nostalgic visual language to unpack and talk about her childhood, which was frankly full of extreme trauma. Book was set in Texas. She grew up surrounded by deep poverty, and I believe her family was Pentecostal, so there was this religious fanaticism going on, and she endured and also witnessed domestic abuse, and it was just a very tough childhood, very, very traumatic childhood. And so, but what really makes this book stand out, and why I think it's getting so much love, and why it's ranked 8th on the meta list, is that Kayla chose to deal with all of these things visually by presenting it in the structure of a children's activity book. Evocative of visually really rounded cartoonish figures, kind of like Harvey Comics, but even more comic strippy, cartoony. And with activity book stuff, between the narrative strips, she puts in word searches and recipes and paper doll cutouts. Which is this fascinating choice because these children's fun asides that are in this book this way are juxtaposed against deep traumatic life experience. And I think it really works because of that. A really smart decision on her part to do that. But ultimately the book's about the fragmented act of remembering. It's a nonlinear narrative, mirrors the way traumatic memory works, right? Returning in glimpses and shards and loops. Maybe not always seeming like it connects together. She's working out her demons here. I think Mario mentioned this in his review, but it won, Precious Rubbish won the Ignatz Award for Outstanding Graphic Novel, which is rewarded to debut or young storytellers. It's a difficult read. It's a stunning read. It really captures the tension between the beauty of the artistry and the rubbish, hence the name of the circumstances she endured. It's kind of like graphic medicine, right? So, incredible work, and I just frankly didn't quite make it to my list, but worthy of your time if you haven't already checked it out. Book number 3 is tied for 8th, along with Precious Rubbish, and that is The Once and Future Riot, written and drawn by Joe Sacco, published by Metropolitan Books. Now, Joe Sacco is quite the opposite of Kayla, who's debuting in the industry. Joe is many decades of putting out fantastic graphic novels. He practically invented the genre of comics journalism with books like Palestine and Footnotes in Gaza. He's basically an investigative journalist, like an embedded reporter, who tells his stories through graphic novels. And we've talked about a number of his books over the years. He's fantastic. But his stuff is super serious and factual and dry, right? These books are for a specific audience who are interested in real literal news accounts told in a graphic way. This story, The Once and Future Riot, is actually about a series of events that I must admit I knew very little about going into this. It was the 2013 riots in India, and I believe I'm going to get this name wrong because I don't have a pronunciation handy, but the Muzaffarnagar riots in Uttar Pradesh region. The premise is that Sacco looks at how localized conflict, right, between the Hindus and their Muslim neighbors sparked a dispute over there was a young woman who was harassed. And that literally that harassment incident sparked ever increasing tensions, and they spiraled into this literal bloodbath that ultimately killed dozens of people, and believe it or not, displaced tens of thousands of people as the conflict escalated. And Sacco arrived to this region years later to investigate and create the chronology and interview. So he interviewed survivors, he talked to village elders, local leaders, and tried to piece together the side-by-side accounts from both sides about how everything went down. The thing I love about Sacco is he goes out of his way, I think, to present a fair and balanced picture of this event and others that he's chronicled before. It's a very hard thing to do, right? Most documentarians inherently put their own biases into their work. I think he does a good job of at least trying not to do that. And I think, for me, what really makes this book feel powerful and poignant is that he spends a lot of his focus talking about the role that digital misinformation plays in all of this, right? And I think it's 2026. Digital misinformation is front and center in all of our thoughts, or at least it should be. And Sacco meticulously tracks how a specific doctored video, originally filmed in Pakistan, but circulated as proof of this lynching, acted as a catalyst for all of this violence. And so he makes the point, and I would agree, that this isn't really just an Indian story. It's a blueprint for how social media can be weaponized to, create anger and discontent and violence and even hijack democracy and rule of law. So if you've never read a Sacco book, visually, he's a beast. He has very detailed, dense pages. He takes the time to draw notably individualized faces and crowds, chaotic mob scenes. He makes you feel the stark, cramped conditions of the camps as people were displaced from the violence. So it's masterful stuff. I would say I could be imagining this, but it seems like he did a lot less cross-hatching in this book than I'm used to seeing in his works. I don't know if that was just because he's getting older and he just has evolved his style, or if there was a specific reason he opted to not use as much cross-hatching this time. I don't know. I haven't. If somebody's read or seen an interview with him that know the answer to that, I'd love to read or see it or hear from you about that. But it just struck me. And I will say of all the books I'm talking about today, it's the smallest. And it's relatively small for the kind of books he puts out. I think it's less than 150 pages. But it's great. Basically, in a world of competing digital narratives, who gets to decide what actually happened? And that's, on the bullseye of what we should all be thinking about in our sober moments these days. So, all right. So moving on, we are now moving outside of the top 10 of Medalist, but still very high. Standing in at number 13 on the list is a book named Cannon, Cannon, written and drawn by Lee Lai, published by Drawn and Quarterly. Some of you probably recognize Lee Lai's name because this is the much anticipated follow-up to her smash debut graphic novel Stonefruit, which came out 2 or 3 years ago to much acclaim. And the premise is, have you ever met someone who's so reliable and so fine, just normal, takes things in stride, that you just know that they're a ticking time bomb, like they're going to snap any minute, right? And that's Cannon. That's the character, the protagonist in this book. The character's name, Cannon, is actually a joke, a play on words. Her best friend Trish used to call her Loose Cannon because she was actually the most calm, stoic person that she knew. And but as the story unfolds in this book, maybe there's some truth to the name after all. It's set in, I'm pretty sure Lilai is these days, I think they live in Canadian, and this book is set in Montreal. And Cannon just lives an exhausting life. She's got a ton of responsibility. She's a line cook, and probably, at least as I read it, like the best actual cook, like the most creative cook in the restaurant. But she's a line cook at a high end restaurant. While she's also the primary caretaker for her aging grandfather, or Gung Gung, who is suffering from dementia. And on top of that, she's the emotional rock for her best friend Trish. And Trish is a piece of work. She is a writer, an aspiring writer who is dealing with writer's block. She's under the gun because she's already spent her advance and her publisher is pressuring her to get them the book. And she begins to use Cannon's personal life and trauma as material in the book without telling her, which is a pretty shitty thing to do to your best friend. For those of you that didn't read Stone Fruit and aren't familiar with Lai's art, it's sparse, right? It's really expressive, but it's fairly indie in that it's there's not a ton of ink on the page. I wouldn't say that the visual style is in and of itself a draw in the book, right? I don't know that you're going to open up a page of this book if you're shopping and just see a visual that just knocks you on your ass and you say, oh my God, I need to buy this book. I mean, I think the art serves the story, but this is ultimately a character and emotionally driven work. Book's primarily black and white. She does spot color occasionally to convey emotion or key moments, but it's mostly black and white. So again, if you've read enough indie memoir books, you kind of get what I'm saying, I'm sure. And one of the great things about this one is it opens up with the big traumatic event, and then we then go back in time for 3 months and see the journey that led up to this traumatic event. Basically, Cannon, I guess some minor spoilers here, but it is in the opening pages. So Cannon destroys the restaurant she works at, just smashes it to pieces. And again, it gets back to that idea of this powder keg under the surface of this relatively calm person who takes everything in stride. So, fascinating work. I think it's as strong, if not stronger, than Stone Fruit. It's a fairly big book. I think it's around 300 pages. And yes, it is another slice of life. I know you guys are all saying, oh, here you go, Woodrow, with your slice of life books. And that's true. All of these books, well, most of the books I'm talking about today are slice of life. But remember, none of them are going to make my top 10. So there, you bitches. But nevertheless, in all seriousness, it's a great book. And like I said, I think it sits at number 13 on the meta list as I'm recording this. So we've got two more I'm going to cover, and they also are both graphic memoirs, and they're both by renowned pillars of that medium, as you'll soon hear. So up next, both of these books, interestingly too, are tied for 14th on the list. They each got 13 votes in the meta list, and are just right behind Cannon. So those books are Ginseng Roots, a memoir, and Spent, a comic novel. So first we'll get to Ginseng Roots, and which I'll say right up front. I personally much preferred Ginseng Roots to Spent, but I'm going to talk about them both. Ginseng Roots, a memoir, is written and drawn by Craig Thompson and published by Pantheon Books. I would sincerely hope I don't have to tell you who Craig Thompson is. More than 20 years ago, he gave us Blankets, which is quite possibly the most renowned graphic memoir in the history of modern comic storytelling. I will say it was certainly one of the first of that type of work I ever read, at a time when I was starting to branch out from the classic big two superhero vibes that drove so much of my and many of our reading when we were younger. And Blankets, of course, chronicled Craig's childhood and his journey through first loves and religious fundamentalism and growing up around that. And so for the last 20 plus years, he's done a number of other amazing works, but there was this huge part of his childhood that he left out of Blankets, which I find fascinating, by the way, which was for about a decade he spent picking ginseng in fields in rural Wisconsin. And that's what this book is about. It's not just a memoir, though. It's Thompson himself called this a rhizomatic. Now, there's a Scrabble word for you. Rhizomatic deep dive that connects a small town in the Midwest to the ancient markets of China. So Thompson worked as a kid, and he worked for $1 an hour, sitting in the mud, knee deep, harvesting these ginseng roots from the ground. And weirdly, he always thought as a kid that when you pull the roots out, they look like human beings, the way that the roots are shaped. They look like kind of weird little human beings. And as an adult, while he's navigating a and this is all legitimate, like real his life, while he's navigating through a bad hand injury, which is leading to a creative crisis. He goes back to that area in Wisconsin. I think the town is called Marathon, which is apparently the ginseng capital of the world. Who knew? I always presumed, I guess incorrectly, that most of the ginseng that we consume would have been imported from East Asia, but I was wrong. And he goes back to figure out why this plant has, been such an important piece of his life. And I'd say that the book visually is Thompson's a fantastic cartoonist. It's a love letter to the, calligraphy of the line. He uses a pretty limited palette here of black, white, and red, which is evocative, I think, intentionally of Chinese woodblock printing. He's also well known for using creative panel layouts, interesting compositions, and he does that here. He's using organic compositions where like roots and dirt, and he diagrams them. They weave through the narrative. It's he even like uses a personified ginseng root, aka because they look like people, as your narrator at times, which is clever and something that makes perfect sense to do in a comic, right? And I think really what this book is about is Thompson's struggle with working class guilt. He looks at the tension between his parents' super tough physical laborious lives and his own life as an artist, where he says, he actually asked the question, does drawing pictures count as real work? And he also weaves this into a broader tapestry, like he interviews refugees and local farmers, and spins anecdotes about how, like, the corporate agriculture market and where the U.S. fits with that. And then he, I guess maybe most importantly, I'm kind of bearing the lead, he introduces his sister in this book, who was, I think, largely by design omitted from Blankets because he didn't want to bring her into his exploration of their family history and trauma. I guess maybe either she asked not to be or he didn't feel comfortable at the time doing that. So he brings her in, and we see a lot more of her, which I thought was particularly fascinating since we read Blankets, many of us, more than 20 years ago. So, yeah, this book's a big one. It's about 400, maybe 450 pages. But it's dense, but it's deeply moving. If you want a story that makes you look at the dirt under your fingernails and think about how hard work in the global economy and our place in it, but with heart, this is the book for you. So really enjoyed this one. This, of all the books I'm talking about today, this is probably the one that came the closest to making my list, but just didn't quite do it. And then last, but not least, I guess, is Spent, a comic novel, which was written and drawn by Alison Bechdel, published by Mariner Books. Again, I imagine most of you know who Alison Bechdel is. I will note that Spent is, by her own admission, the third in a trilogy of Self, which of course started with Fun Home, which if Blankets isn't the most definitive graphic memoir of our time, Fun Home would be the alternative. So they're 1 and 2, depending on where you sit. So Fun Home was the first of the trilogy, and then came Are You My Mother, which was the second, and then this comes the third. And if you thought that Bechdel had already performed the ultimate psychological autopsy on her family, think again. She turns her focus this time on the last remaining taboo of her life, which is money. And the discomfort that most of us have in dealing with money, discussing money, sharing the realities of money with other people. It's in typical fashion for her. It's self-aggrandizing. It's like open and honest. She bears no fools, right? She suffers no fools. She gives you everything that's on her mind, warts and all, about her life and her partner's life and her friends' lives. Like, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's narcissistic, sometimes it's really poignant. I will say about Bechdel. She is brutally and unapologetically honest as she sees it when she makes a graphic novel. And I'd say that this one is veers a little bit by design into autobiographical fiction. I think she intentionally fictionalizes portions of this. For example, in the book, her first memoir was allegedly turned into a hit TV show called Death and Taxidermy. Now, obviously, that didn't actually happen in real life, right? Fun Home wasn't turned into a hit TV show, but there's some like I said, fictional parodying here to help further the story and make her points. In this book, she and her partner live and run a pygmy goat sanctuary in Vermont. And she's supposed to be writing a book about the history of money, but she's having trouble working through it. And she starts working us through her guilt for having money, because she's become a really successful cartoonist that sold a ton of books, and she's got a level of financial freedom and comfort that she never imagined she would have. So I'd say visually, this is maybe the best we've ever seen her. One of the reasons is Spent is full color. And I believe, don't if I'm wrong on this, I should have double checked. I don't have the book sitting next to me, but I believe the book was colored actually by her real life partner, Holly Ray Taylor. And I think it really stands out as a result of that. And I think they work together in her that book Dykes, like the characters or the people involved in Dykes to Watch Out For, her work from back in the day, are now middle aged. They have joint pain. They're kind of like dealing with their kids and the reality of getting older and what that means for your ideologies. Some of them stick, some of them don't. So in a way, this is a book about being older and much later on in your life journey and self-introspection. So I think a lot of us can relate to that, right? I just turned 51 years old, so I feel her there in many ways. But the book's really also a comedy of errors. I think the book starts off, if I'm remembering right, where Holly, her partner, becomes like a viral internet celebrity because she does these do-it-yourself videos about laborious tasks on the farm that they would live, and she does this video about chopping wood, and it goes viral. And Bechdel actually gets like low-key jealous about it, which is kind of funny because in real life and in this book, Bechdel's still infinitely more famous than Holly. And then like there's other parts to it, like some of their friends end up in a throuple, and it deals with the realities of a loving couple bringing a third into their lives, and how do you make that work? Can you make that work? So a lot going on in the book. Like I said, for me, this one didn't quite grab me in the way that some of these others did, just that I found it a little tedious. I found it a little, not preachy. Preachy's not the right word, but it felt a little bit more like overt in its messaging, such that I kind of felt like I was being spoken to instead of getting to look inside of their lives just as a passive observer of their own reflections, if that makes sense. So yeah, so of all of these books I've talked about, I mean, this is the one I probably least enjoyed, and this wouldn't really honestly be anywhere near my top 25. But nevertheless, it's unsurprisingly when Alison Bechdel puts a book out, it's going to have plenty of fans, and this one is, like I said, sitting tied with Ginseng Roots at number 14. So there we have it. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk about here. Just a review. We talked about 6 books. Do Admit, The Mitford Sisters and Me, Precious Rubbish, The Once and Future Riot, Canon, Ginseng Roots, a Memoir, and Spent, a comic novel. I think they are all either biographical memoirs or historically accurate depictions of others. And like I said, that's a genre I tend to read. That's a genre that gets lots of love in these lists every year. But because of the way this year shook out, none of these books made my top 10. So there you have it. And if you're curious about the meta list and haven't seen it, as of this writing, I think I've got 642 different comics have gotten at least one vote on the meta list for someone's favorite comic of the year, which really speaks to what an amazing year this was, and also what a wonderfully diverse medium we get to play in each year, right? Because it's like excuse me, I crack up when you hear talk of like, oh, comics aren't what they used to be, or oh, what a bad year this was for comics because superhero comics. But they're people just out of their minds. This was an incredible year, and also ironically a year where superhero comics are faring better in aggregate love than we've ever seen. And I mean that ever. I mean, as we sit here, the top 3 books on the meta list are number 1, Absolute Wonder Woman, number 2, Absolute Batman, number 3, Absolute Martian Manhunter. Yes, that's correct. The top 3 books on the meta list are all Absolute books. So salute. Quite a year, but we'll get more into that stuff, talking about those books in a week or two when we do our old classics, because of course I don't think it's a shock to think that at least a few, if not all, those books will be on at least one of our lists, or maybe more. We'll see. So all right, guys, again, Happy New Year. I'm sure Dap and Vince already told you this, so sorry if I sound repetitive, but thank you all so much for the never-ending and continued support. We've been doing this for 17 freaking years at this point, so a lot happens in people's lives over 17 years, and the fact that so many of you have continued to find time in your minds and hearts and ears to give us a listen. Again, whether it's every minute of the show every week, or it's every couple weeks when you see a topic you want to listen to, or even if you pop in a couple times a year just for old time's sake, we still love you each and all the same. It all helps and all matters and all is very affirming. So cheers. I hope 2026 is a super prosperous year for all of you. I hope 2025 was a good year in some capacity. I know it wasn't a great year on many levels, which we don't have to get into here further. But again, I hope that we all find ways to enjoy our lives and take what is good about them to help offset the things that bother us. So love y'all. Can't wait to forge ahead again, and we're going to keep doing this. We have a lot of fun stuff planned. I know one thing that we've been alluding to, but we really are going to try and re-accelerate our interviews this year. We did far fewer interviews this year than we have in most of our years for various and sundry reasons, but we've got a laundry list of creators that we're dying to talk to. Some returning guests, but hopefully really trying to get new people, new voices on the show to get to know them as well. So stay tuned for all that. And again, thanks for everything, and I will talk to you all next week.
Nice.
Yeah.
We talk about things that, going back to things that we don't want to waste our time. Sounds hard, but waste our time with. There are things that I know that you specifically, Vince, would not be too into. One of those things is Sophie Campbell's Wet Moon. I started the first of the 3 omnibus celebrating the 20th anniversary.
I like the way she draws.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of her artwork. But the characters in Wet Moon, they're a total turnoff for you. But I'm working my way through it. It's not a small book, so I'm taking my time with it. But the other one that I've read that I was really looking forward to, and I did dig it. I dug it a lot. But I know right off the bat, the creator is a reason enough for you to say no to it, even if you might like the concept and the property, the IP. I do not, and I'll be blown over if you tell me you check this out, but the Adventure Time special, the Bubbline College special, written.
I have it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You know who writes and draws it.
I have it.
I mean, I ordered it because I'm getting the series.
Who writes and draws it?
It's your favorite PP and Poo Poo artist, Caroline Cash.
Yeah.
This was a fun one shot. It's basically it's a what if. It's an imaginary tale because while Finn and Jake are they're discussing fan fiction, which is kind of similar to Fiona and Cake, and so they talk about Marshall Lee, and so instead of reading fan fiction, they're introduced to alternate universes, and in this one, Princess Bubblegum is enrolled in Ooh University, and so Princess Bonnabelle Bubblegum appears to be 18 years old. She's double majoring in chemistry, and Princess, of course, Peppermint Butler is there with her. It's her butler and also a necromancer. He does not like her being on campus. He knows that there's an assassination attempt on her life at any given moment. She really should be residing in the castle. But he acquiesced because she's agreed to live in the princess dorm. Unfortunately, her roommate is Lumpy Space Princess, who of course is an absolute utter. This poor woman. So she's just, she's just happy to be in school and she's going to learn and she's looking forward to meeting her roommate and, she'll have a peer to discuss geopolitics with and stay up late doing homework together, hopefully, and maybe they can have fun and put together a chore chart. And that's when LSP shows up with her parents, and Bubblegum is like, "Oh, hello," and LSP just barges in, yelling, "Ignore my stupid parents!" And her parents are like, "Mom's just like, don't just barge in like that, dear." And LSP's just all loud and brash, and wow, our room is so nice. And she ends up telling her parents to get out of here. She can take care of her own stuff on her own, and she puts her luggage down and knocks Bubblegum's laptop off the table, breaking it, and says, "Oh, that laptop was old anyways." So Bubblegum, what? Yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah. So Bubblegum's just like, "I'm out of here," and so she leaves. She leaves her dorm room, and she just and all pissed off at her roommate. And Cash writes these little, they're little hidden. I mean, they're not hidden. They're in the panel, but she's. This is a. I mean, Adventure Time is Steer's older anyway, but while she's so she's oogling on her search engine on her smartphone, and she's like, how to poison your roommate, but she she sees somebody like whistling off in the distance, and they're floating up to the roof of a nearby dorm, and so they're at the top of they're just floating, playing with I mean, it's, for those of us who know, it's Marceline, obviously, but so she's sitting there just strumming her axe, and then she floats back down to the roof, and she's doing all this, and all Bubblegum is thinking, well, that can't be fire code compliant. And so the next day, she's complaining, thinking to herself, because LSP snores. She barely got any sleep, wondering if she should glue her mouth shut. And Finn and Jake are here. Because at first I thought maybe this was like an alternative like origin story, and how Bubblegum and Marceline met. But it dawned on me pretty quickly that this is an alternate reality tale. So everybody is who they are, just slightly different. But Finn and Jake are here, and Bubblegum's like, "What the hell are you guys doing here?" So Finn's like, "Well, we're here to keep you safe." And Bubblegum's like, "Well, that makes no sense, because it was the safest campus in the country." And Jake pulls Bubblegum off to the side, and she's like, "Listen, I had to trick Finn into enrolling by telling him you needed protection. I really want him to learn how to read." And so he's like, "Please go along with this." And she's just like, "Fine." And so they're like, "Okay, well, Bubblegum's like, "All right, I got to go to class. I'll see you guys later." And they're like, "Well, we're going too." She's like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, I'm majoring in princess to protect you." So she can't get a break, but she keeps thinking about the girl from last night. And she goes to the coffee shop asking for an iced mocha. But Flame Princess is there. She's just like, "We don't serve ice bevs." So here's a burnt mocha. And as she's running back to the dorm to finish her chemistry homework, she rounds the corner, and she and Marceline bump into each other. And she's all screaming, and Marceline's like about to apologize, and Bubblegum's all in her face like, "Watch it. You made me spill my coffee. I'm not going to get my work done with any caffeine." And Marceline's like, "Yo, you spilled your coffee on me. You should really watch where you're going, princess." They have a little bit of a squabble, and they part ways. She gets back to her dorm room, and LSP is doing some cleaning, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm as a sorry for the laptop, I'm cleaning the kitchen sink. I hope it's fine that I'm using your toothbrush to scrub it. I would have used mine, but like I didn't want to get mine all gross." And again, like, it's just, she's like, "Okay, I know it'll make you feel better, Bubblegum. We can have a huge party." And Bubblegum just acquiesces. She's like, "All right, fine, screw it, whatever." So they're playing Spin the Bottle, and Marceline shows up, and a bunch of other people from campus show up, and they're spinning, and people are smooching and making out, and it goes to, she spins it again, and Bubblegum is just thinking anyone but Marceline. And all Marceline is thinking, well, anyone but me. And Finn is thinking, please land on me. LSP is thinking drama, and it lands on Marceline. So Marcy thinks, well, she's probably going to think I'm going to chicken out. And LSP is egging everybody on. And they're both thinking, well, I'll show her, and I'm going to make this kiss so good, and it'll last 5 seconds. It'll be over. I just have to suck it up for 5 seconds. And they seem to be kissing for a minute. For a while, and Bubblegum seems to be pretty out of it after the kiss. She definitely was impressed, and then they keep playing the game. LSP's like, oh, it's my turn. She goes to spin it, and it lands on a turtle. But LSP's just like, Finn! And she lunges towards Finn, kisses him. And Bubblegum is she's still a little loopy. And Marceline lets her know, you can say I'm a good kisser if you want. And Bubblegum's like, no, that party's over. I'm going to bed. But the next day, her phone rings, and it's Peppermint Butler. And apparently an assassin has infiltrated U University to stop you from returning to the kingdom. So you must come back at once. And all she's doing while having this conversation is thinking about Marceline. And Bubblegum just dismisses it. She's like, listen, I'm safe here. Finn and Jake are keeping an eye on me. And this is like the 5th time you've warned me about an assassin. They're never real. And I mean, they are, but everything is in place to where they never get near her, so she's fine. She goes back to her dorm room. LSP's throwing another party, and she's like, well, I can't do any fucking work here. So she goes back. She goes to the dorm kitchen. It's nighttime. She's chilling, eating some ramen. Marceline comes over, and Bubblegum's just like, just tells her, listen, I need to do my homework. Lovely Space Princess is throwing another party. I got to finish this assignment by tomorrow, and everything I've been working on all week will be ruined. And I'm just so tired. So Marceline's like, listen, you can crash in my room because I got band practice till late, so you'd have the whole place to yourself. And she is. So Marceline has band practice, comes back to her dorm room. Bubblegum is sitting there sleeping in the bedroom. Wakes up the next morning. Marceline's flirting with her a little bit. That night, Marceline invites Bubblegum to the club to see her play at the Candy Apple Tavern. Marceline and the Scream Queens are on stage singing their song, which obviously the lyrics have to do with Bubblegum. And turns out that there is an assassin who was at the tavern as well. The assassin was Starchy, and who's screaming about the constant surveillance and control of the candy people must end. Your fascist rule will be over one day. And Jake just gets Starchy out of the place. And at the end of it, our two heroines are together, and it was just so the narrator is basically just telling Finn and Jake, like, wasn't this story just better than fanfic, and it's just so much can and does happen, and all at the end of it, all the takeaway for Jake is just that I was able to get Finn to go to college, which of course is funny, but it's apparently Marceline is Cash's favorite character from the series. It's a cute, considering Cash is thankful to the lesbians of the internet, it's a fitting story. I had fun with this. It's a neat. It was a neat little special away from the current ongoing from Oni. It's I mean the look, the feel, the voice of the issue is different than what they've got going on with the ongoing. I really have no I don't have a problem with the Marcy and Bonnie special. It was a lot of fun. Looks great if you're used to Caroline Cash's work. If you've read PP and Poo Poo and Pee Pee Poo Poo, if you've read any anthologies of recent publications that she's had a hand in, any of the Silver Sprocket stuff. I did not read the Nancy strip, so I don't know. I'm sure it's visually it's similar to what Ernie was doing from the beginning, but
sure it is.
I haven't so I haven't strayed from her sequential work that way, but yeah, this was fun. It's an Adventure Time tale. You definitely get that if you they introduce they make sure to spotlight the main players of the story, but any of the background characters, anybody that you may see wandering the halls or in class, like as if you're familiar with the cartoon, then you'll recognize and you'll know them. But they don't. Caroline doesn't bog you down with extra information that it isn't pertinent to the main story. But this was fun. There were some throwaway lines. There were some gags here and there. But I mean, overall, as a story from start to finish, of unfortunately Bubblegum having to deal with LSP as a roommate, and then meeting Marceline and having a crush and moving on from that. It was a fun one shot. I'm glad Oni decided to have fun with it. I definitely, I would recommend, even if you're not reading, and because it is a standalone one shot, not tied into the ongoing, if you haven't jumped on the current Adventure Time from Oni, then and you just want to try something, you've got a couple of bucks burning a hole in your pocket, I would. Then you miss Adventure Time, then you're not watching the current Fiona and Cake, then yeah, I think you'd have fun with this. I would check out the Bubbling College special.
There you go. Yeah, we still have a Patreon page. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. 2 tiers. Two basic tiers. $5 and $10. I'm not going to tell you what they are because I want you to go to the Patreon page and check out everything that you get for your money. The extra audio will return soon. That's the $5 tier. And extra episodes and blah blah blah. The stuff will return, so do not waver. And for an extra $5, you get that and the Slack, which is the best of both worlds, if you ask me. The Slack is where we meet every day. There are a couple of more vocal proponents there, but they make sense. So it's all good. TV, movies, comics, hardcovers, shelf porn, animation, Transformers, you name it. We have a group that focuses solely on that. And if you want to save money, and who doesn't, right? Sure. Go to cheapgraphicnovels.com. Cheapgraphicnovels.com have everything you need at the price you want to pay. This has been on my list forever. Mm-hmm. It seems like forever. It is Koosh. It's a fun-looking S with a square above it and an exclamation point, but it's pronounced Koosh. It's the Baltic Comics Fanzine number 55, and this issue serves two purposes. It is at once an anthology of comics. That's what Koosh does best. Anthologizes sequential artwork. It also is half, well, yeah. It also is half text. What? Yes, you heard me correctly. Half text, focusing on the March 20 to 23rd, 2025 Comics Sans Frontieres, which was a Comic-Con that focused on, well, I'll read it to you. I don't normally do this, but they say it better than I can. Christopher Sperandio edits this thing. That brings together international artists and scholars in interdisciplinary dialogue on comics whose relevance to politics, communication, and literacy is constantly growing. By instigating our own act of academic and cultural border defiance, we offer as a pocket travel guide for all our fellow travelers and the comics. It's funny. I show it to them on the comics road co/mix, wherever they are. The cover price on this is like $13 and change. The cover is Art Spiegelman, whom I guess was the United States guest at the Comics Sans front. Well, one of the United States guests, but it's Art Spiegelman. Comics Sans Frontiers. Art does the cover. He also provides 2 pages within the anthology, which one of them is the same as the cover image. So the cover image focuses on the Exos, OXOS. It's a family that have tic-tac-toe written on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
The dog, the brother, the sister, the parents. The mother wears an OX. Moo. None of them have a winning hand of tic-tac-toe. I want to call it a hand. Game. The windows have X's and O's. That tile has X's and O's. It's a compelling image, but if you're the guest of honor at a Comics Con and you provide 2 images and you didn't color them yourself, you handed it off to someone else. I gotta call, foul on that. But it's Spiegelman. So, and in typical fashion, anthologizing comics is what Koosh does. So I think they have the best approach to anthologies by listing the name of the creator on every page of comic art, whether it's Jack Katz, which there is a First Kingdom look at, and there is an article called An Evening with Jack Katz and Jacques Vallée. Now, if I need to go further, Jack Katz and Jacques Vallée, what the hell are you doing listing? Right? you should know who these people are. Um, it's amazing that the text and the comics dovetail at times. Now everybody loves lists, right?
Yep.
And so I'm not going to read them, but safe to say that the text pieces and the comics pieces are done by amazing talents. Some people stick to a more grassroots approach. Some people are taking a 3D approach. There's lyrical, there's photorealistic, there's cartoony, there's Jackson. It's all over the map, and the comics, art, and teaching and study workshop, or CATS, is the name of the the organization that that text companies. So you have Mexican Comics, Jackson's Rant at Angle M, Risograph Printing. Uh, Again, I know that you love lists, so I'm here to give you what you need, right? Um, uh, I'm trying to the Sperano, Christopher Sperano does the absolute best strip by my estimation, called Little Trumpy, where Dennis the Menace is supposed to be Trump, and he runs into the house, and it's like they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. The Democrats say, please don't call them animals, they're humans. I said, no, they're not humans, they're animals. And it's all done in a faux 1960s style. That's absolutely perfect. Um, I'm trying to find the text that will illuminate you as to what. Here we go. Campus Comics is one of them. The articles. Comics and Beyond at Rice University's Foundry Library. What can cartoonists teach engineers? Manga, Language, and Identity. An Evening with Jack Katz and Jacques Vallée. Again, just stop. Stop. Barbara Sherman. Queer Cuban Comics, Beyond Borders, and much more. It's amazing. It's less than, depending on where you get it, you're going to pay anywhere from like $11 to $13, but you'll spend a lot of time with this issue. I think it took me 20 hours to read from cover to cover. That's not bad for $13. There's an article on Raw. There's an article from the Notebook of a Homesick Emigre, German Identity Through Objects in Hemet. It's amazing. Mooncakes in the Sukkah, Gender, Cultural, and Linguistic Non-Binary Comics. So there is a modicum of fist pumping comics that grown up. They've eclipsed their origins, and comics are great. There's some of that, but thankfully the that kind of stuff is kept to a bare minimum. Yes, we know comics have grown up. We but they, meaning outside of the comics community, they don't know. They may have heard it, but sometimes they forget, right? So it's okay that they champion sequential art, but briefly, and that's what they do. They do it as little as possible, and they get out to the meat of their discussion. So Kush, number 55. I cannot recommend it highly enough. And small. It's tiny. It's like 5 inches. You need it.
It is tiny, and I realized as I was scrolling through their site that I have issue 54 because as part of MS Harkness's Patreon, she provides the patrons with wherever her publications ended up throughout the year, and so I haven't finished this volume yet, but I have Kush 54 and Rust Belt Review number 7 because she has work in both of these, and funnily enough, issue 54 has a cover and a story by Carolyn Cash, so it's a Cash-O-Rama. But yeah, everything you said, everything you said, from the artist on every page to the format to just how wild and varied the work inside is. I had no idea that, because obviously it just says Baltics Comics Magazine and their logo is just like an S with a question mark. So, looking at that, you have no idea what it's supposed to be, really. Well, I didn't know. But yeah,
There's an article in 55 called It's Pronounced Kush.
See, and I wouldn't know that. I mean, I guess the S with with that accent over it is an SH, but and draws out the U. But
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, the show notes will have it as it's written in Latin, right, and our phonetical pronunciation. But
I didn't know either. Way back when I had to Google, I had to search for Baltian, because you can't easily do the S and the exclamation point. You can, but it's not easily done. I did a search for the Baltics Comics Anthology, and I swear, every article, it tells you how to pronounce the name. Because it's so weird. It's so strange that this one letter, is pronounced Kush. It doesn't make sense to me. But not many things do.
And it looks like Living the Line also reviewed issue 55. We should let them know we're also reviewing. It's and I like that you can order from the web shop, and the worldwide shipping is included in the price. So don't it's I mean, you may look at it and realize how small it is when you receive, and you're like, I spent $13 on this, but I mean it's jam packed. There's a lot going on here.
I get mine from Copacetic, which is just an excuse to order something else.
Yeah, I mean it's and according to their site, I mean their U.S. retailers include Quimby's. There's a shop in Brooklyn, so I mean it's available. You can find it, but yeah, I mean by all means, I love the idea of just checking out creators, artists that we don't see regularly.
And it's an anthology, so some of them
it reminds me of now
aren't great. Right. They're thankfully in the minority, but putting the artist's name on every page, it's one of those, well, why don't other anthologies do this? It's the smartest thing to do, yet no one does it. I don't know. Kush.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think your travels. I caught up on Geiger. I realized I know it's back, but I've been letting it sit. So catching up on the events after Tariq met Ashley and she tried to play him and how that all played out. I think when it comes to fill-in issues or fill-in artists or guest artists, 16. I'm not calling 16 a whiff by any means, because it would be fine for most other, especially maybe superhero comics, but considering what Gary Frank and Pelletier were putting down in previous issues, I've come to expect a certain style with Geiger and Eamon Winkle. Again, fine, but it wasn't really wasn't what I tend to look for in Geiger. It was, and I mean, it was a story just about Molotov. It was him talking about what he put Tariq through and how he was trying to help Ashley and it was a fine issue to move the story along, and then you get with 17, because of the events that happened in the previous issue. Tariq is captured and ends up in Coldwater Prison. And this issue is also not drawn by Gary Frank, except to the last couple of pages. It's penciled by Eduardo, Pansica, inked by Norm Rapmund, colored by Robert Nugent. Gary Frank and Brad Anderson handled the last few pages. So you've got Tariq dealing with being a prisoner, and he's also seemed to have been drained. He doesn't have his rods, and he is not glowing. But the Warden Wren, doesn't. He not a nice guy. He treats his inmates like shit. Apparently, he was an inmate himself. But then, following the war, he becomes the warden. He frees other inmates who were loyal to him, keeping the rest of them imprisoned. He's not a nice guy. He definitely deals with an iron fist. 18 and 19, however, continuing to move the story along. It's still 18 for the most part. Again, the previous creative team with Frank and Anderson at the end, but we're explained that with Geiger captured and in the prison, things are set in motion. There's a character named Goldbeard who was an inmate at Coldwater, has something buried under the prison, and he wants it back. And the only way he's waited a long time for this to happen, and now the opportunity is finally here. When a life is taken in the prison, the warden puts the person who took the life in the chair. That chair gives them a very short amount of time for them to break into the prison when the security cameras are down, break into the prison, get what they need, and get out. So they do that. It's set up where Tariq is framed while he's in prison and is now sent to the chair. And the person who framed him is a guard who is on the take from Goldbeard. So it's all an elaborate setup. The switch is flicked. Tariq is electrocuted. Goldbeard's men start the process to break into the prison. Tariq's not dead. So Ren says, well, hit him again. So they fry him again. And that's when everything is reactivated. His powers are returned, and he doesn't have the rods, so he cannot stop. And he is laying waste to everybody in the execution room, including the warden. All while this is going on up top, Goldbeard's men have found the treasure, and they asked him before they went on this journey, what's in the chest, and he says it's not a coin. It has absolutely no value to anyone who will find it. Trust me on this. It will mean absolutely nothing to you, but it means everything to me. So you bring me this, and you will have anything you want. In his words, you will be handsomely rewarded. And while we're seeing everything happening to Geiger, from being in prison and frame up and being put in the chair, Goldbeard is telling a story about his time in the prison and the type of person that the warden is. And apparently during his stay, someone did come by to visit Goldbeard. And before they could visit again, the warden had told them that Goldbeard does not wish to see you folks ever again. So he purposely goes out of his way. People would write letters to inmates. They'd never see them. So we do find out what was in the chest. And it was an old baseball mitt and a drawing made by a child of his family. And it's basically the last thing Goldbeard has to remember his dead son. And that actually reminds him of the person he used to be. And so even one piece of this treasure is returned to him, then he'll know there was a life before all this. And while after Tariq pretty much gets rid of everybody who hurt him in the prison, and he's crawling out of the wreckage, and he's still glowing. He's still he's hurt. He's drained. He's when he was thrown, when the events leading up to him being in cold water, he and Nate and Molotov, they were being attacked by a gang, and unfortunately there was an explosion and Tariq was thrown miles away. So Nate and Molotov and Barney and Zigzag, they've been looking for him. And when Tariq stumbles out from the prison and he's thinking about his family, he sees them and Tracy and their kids. He sees them through a haze, and she tells them to hold on. It's not time yet. You still have work to do. And he collapses, and then you see the rods. You see one of the rods being pushed towards his hand, and you see one of Barney's heads holding the other rod. So Goldbeard, as he's telling the story, you might say someone like someone with Geiger's power, someone like the Glowing Man. This is why President Griffin wants Geiger, wants the Glowing Man, because if they can't control him, they can hopefully destroy him, because he's got the power to basically destroy the continent, to blow half the world up. So they don't want that power out and unchecked. But he can't be all bad if a creature With a creature with two heads, if something is this loyal to a man like this, then the man can't be all that bad. But it looks like Goldbeard and Bonnie Borden may be working together to maybe try to capture or control Geiger. But after this issue, issue 19 was all about Ashley Arden, which and that was the return of Gary Frank and Brett Anderson, but and the introduction of the St. Louis Strays. 19 was a fun issue. I'm not going to get into that, but it was Arden. Ashley is kicking ass. She is not. She don't fuck around with kids in her presence, because you will not be treated kindly if you hurt, abuse, torture children. It won't end well for you. But if you want to know what she's been up to following the events of recent issues of Geiger, 19 is the issue for you to check out. I wasn't unhappy about it. I approve of her methods, and I have no problem with how she handles things. And yeah, I mean, even there was an auction, because they're trying to auction off kids. It's a neat little issue, and to see Gary Frank drawing a bunch of kids, it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, caught up on Geiger in your travels. If you haven't lately, check out Geiger from Ghost Machine.
There you go. And just leave us a review.
Yes.
After you're done reading Geiger, leave us a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, whatever. Leave us a review on whatever platform you listen to this 11 o'clock comics, and do due diligence. Say good night. I sound like Elvis. I'm sorry. I hate him.
Oh my God.
Yeah. David.
Good night.
I really do. She will launch into a vocal accompaniment of Elvis's Christmas songs. I'm like, you know, he was a scumbag, right?
David. Oh man, that's well. I mean, Chuck D finally, seemed to be cool with him.
That's wrong.
Not Shane Wayne. John Wayne's still a piece of shit, but Elvis, he cooled off on.
I still think he's a piece of shit.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not a big fan. I mean, I'm the same. I mean, I understand. It's I
like John Wayne at all. Yeah.
Oh no. John Wayne can't dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could care less about that motherfucker.
But if there was a bridge, and hanging from it was Chuck D and Elvis, Chuck D still be breathing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And after I got Chuck down, if he asked me to save Elvis, we could talk about it. But
yeah, slowly, we could talk about it.
Take your time.
Really,
use your words.
Really, slowly.
Thank you, folks, for listening to this. We really do, truly appreciate you all. Happy New Year! Here's to an amazing 2026. Hopefully it'll be better for all of us than 2025 was.
Drink responsibly.
Yes.
Responsibly is the word I'm looking for. Don't hurt yourself, because we love you so much. We want you back for 10/16.
Yes, we do. And maybe the band will be all back together for 10/16. But yes, we will. We will be back next year. We will talk to you all soon. Thank you for putting up with us again, and yeah, we will have we'll have a hard date on Neoclassicers very soon. So you make sure, again, hit up 11o'clockcomics.com. You can find out check out the menu at the top of the page. You will see the form for the 2025 Claskers. Put yours in. It's a Google form, so you can put your email address in. You can save it, so if you don't have all 10 down now, 10 plus 5, you can go back to it before the deadline is up. But now that we are in the last day or two of the year, might even be the year might be over by the time you hear this. Everything for 2025 will have been out. So everything is eligible, and get your forms in, so we can have that episode scheduled, and we can talk about all the great stuff we've read in 2025. But next week we'll be back to talk about things that we're reading again. So thanks for listening, everybody.
What he said. Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
That's it for that one.